we're here to share with each other, and we don't want anyone to be an asshole or a jerk. We're here to share and learn. We're not here to sell our services, that kind of thing. We're really here to share. So, all right. So, I usually start with news. There are a couple of things that I mentioned during our introduction, so I'm just going to quickly breeze through these. A couple of interesting things that we'll probably do in a future meetup. I saw that a blank theme was released through Automatic to work with blocks. So I'm interested to see how that works. I'm working on someone from the blocks team to come in and talk about Gutenberg blocks again. I hope to talk a little bit about WooCommerce as well. So I'll make these slides available afterwards, but these are some news and notes that are kind of things that you should keep an eye out for in the WordPress community. This is our agenda. We've done our introductions. We've gone through news and notes. I've given you my welcome, and then we're gonna do a presentation. You can follow us on any of these social media platforms, and you'll find out about upcoming events, our WordCamps or our meetups here on any of these social media platforms. For those that don't know, you can always find out about events in the WordPress community in your dashboard. What I always recommend is you go in and click on that pencil and make sure you put your city in. But if you're traveling, you could put the city that you're traveling to. The very first meetup that I spoke at in Chicago, my son was attending Michigan State University, and I put Michigan in there, and then I saw that WordCamp Chicago was coming up, and I pitched a speech. So it's a great tool if you're traveling on business to catch a meetup or stay in the loop. Now that everything's virtual, it's also great to see what's going on around the country or the world in WordPress. I'll start this presentation with a quote. We all first eat with our eyes. For me, I'm going to walk you through some examples at Metro. We have a lot of lists, and calendar is basically a list of information, and all of those lists that we have are very ugly. So it's not enticing. It's not really good in terms of the user experience. So part of what I wanted to do was to take a look at how we can offer our department clients. And the way it works at Metro is we're a transit agency. So our key customers are our stakeholders. So providing them with transit information is important, but internally we work with our department clients to communicate our mission message. So each of our department clients have their own calendar. So I'm going to walk through all of some of the considerations that we had, some of the reasons why we looked at certain calendars, and hopefully end up with something that we all enjoy looking at and eating as well. How do you find the right plugin? I always gear my presentations to beginner level folks. So we're going to quickly breeze through some tips on how to pick a good plugin. I always recommend starting in the WordPress repository, which is here at wordpress.org/plugins. You can search by keyword, by tag, by author. So if you know what the plugin is called, or if you know who built it, it's a good way to find it. And we'll also talk through some of the ways that you find a good plugin. I looked at a number of different plugins by entering calendar in the plugin section. And one of the calendars that I looked at was Modern Events Calendar. And when these are the tips that I suggest you do when you're looking at a plugin. First, look at when it's updated. I know Alicia mentioned earlier that the calendar tool that she used from London, it may not even be built anymore. You know how the WordPress core is always updating, so it's very important that the plugin updates as well as stay consistent with the WordPress update cycle. So that's an important area to look at. It's also important to look at the number of installations. There are a few plugins in the calendar area that were brand new, and I'm always hesitant to do those unless I know the person that built it. I try to go with something that's been tried and true, try and test it. So active installation is important. Also, the reviews. I take a look at some of the bad ones to see if people are complaining about support or lack of updates or lack of fixing bugs, that kind of thing. So that's also an important area to look at. I look at the average rating. Also, the funny thing is if you look up Gutenberg, for example, its rating is bad because it's either loved or hated by people in the WordPress community. And then the version is important also. This is an example of a plugin not to pick. I saw this one and I wanted to use an example. It hasn't been updated in over a year now. This is an old slide, but it only has 10 active installation, and it's been tested. It's almost three versions behind. All right, so the three plugins that I looked at in terms of calendars, I looked at the events calendar, which a lot of folks use it because it's one of the biggest. It is actually the most downloaded, and it's been around for quite a long time. I also looked at modern events calendar, and we'll get into the specifics a little bit later, but we have a distinct brand. We have an award-winning design studio, and everything that we do has to sort of have a look and feel. And I liked modern events calendar, and we'll talk about it later because it had lots of different visual options out of the box. Another we looked at, and a couple of people mentioned an accessible calendar. Joe Dolson is one of the leading voices in the WordPress community in terms of accessibility. And he produced this calendar, which is accessible. And we took a look at that one as well, My Calendar. All right, so in terms of WordPress plugins, again, these are the three that we looked at. And these are some of the problems that we had. At the time, we have a non-WordPress site, and it's built on, our developer built these individual admins that create all these different lists that are eventually styled into a calendar and et cetera. So there's no cohesiveness, they're not connected, they don't talk to each other, and it's a mess. In terms of our end users, when they came on board and our lead developer and Evil Doug wanted to continue down this path, they promised that it would be an easier CMS to use and that all of our department clients would use it. 10 years later, we have about 5 users. So a lot of the work is still on the web team. So it's a terrible end user experience. So one of the things that we wanted to solve is we want to make sure this calendar had an end user experience that someone that had no experience or little experience using a computer, or someone that, you know, maybe someone in the administrative staff, they'd be able to pick it up and use it pretty easily if they could point their browser. And we also had some departments that had their own third-party tools. So we needed to make sure we can integrate with some folks were on Google Calendar. Some people were on Eventbrite. So we wanted to make sure the calendar that we looked at could import that information or connect with it from an integration standpoint. All right, so what I'm going to do now is quickly breeze through. This is Evil Doug's backend. This is our Django Python, but this is one area where meetings are entered. There's lots of information, and it appears on our front end in this way. Again, it was terribly styled. In the system that we built, we had to depend on developer. We had a development crew, so every change, our team as the in-house team, we couldn't get in and do a lot of these changes. So a lot of things were broken or they looked terrible and we couldn't really use it. So what we wanted in terms of WordPress, or what I've been pitching, is that we'll have the ability to control all of this stuff. So that's definitely an upside. And that CMS that CMS screen that you just saw produces this page. We also have sections of our site that deal with the public. So we're currently building a transit project near the airport, near the new stadium, and they have a calendar of events. They use Salesforce, and it's a terrible tool as well. It has terrible output, so it's not really a usable tool. They have to do a manual export of this information to use it on their own, kind of thing. So that's another problem that we have to address with this. This is our Metro Art section, and they have a list of events. And again, it appears, and what I wanted to show you with these 3 screens is that a calendar can take many forms and have many visual representations. So part of my task was to find a tool that will allow us to do a number of different presentations of our calendars to suit our client needs, to try to bring everything in-house and bring it together. Here's another example of a list that's on site. It's for our tours in our Metro Art department as well. So a lot of these things, again, could be consolidated or brought together in a calendar tool. We also use our procurement folks, they use a tool called Trumba, which is a browser-based tool that creates these code snippets They call them spuds, which is kind of an odd term. And you embed those on your site and you get a calendar that looks like this. This one is probably the best tool that we use. Again, it's a third-party tool, but it costs money. It's not really easy for the end user to use. So we have a couple of groups that refuse to use it because it's too technical for them. All right, so that leads me to my next quote. A great presentation gives smart ideas an advantage. Part of what we all want to do as people that work in WordPress, we want to provide our clients or our own internal processes the ability to be more productive, to be more efficient, and hopefully what we do for this calendar tool solves a lot of problems for our clients. So these are some of our requirements. We wanted to have API support in case we wanted to hook in with something. We wanted to make sure that it was customizable to Metro's brand. Again, I mentioned we have an award-winning design studio, and they're really picky. You know, we use a certain font, we use a certain color, a color palette. So all of those things needed to be considered. So we hope that we'll have the ability to customize a lot of stuff. Does it integrate with our agency's existing tools, the tools that I just showed you? And some of them rated out a lot better than the others. The end user interface. Again, we wanted to make sure that it was easy to use. A lot of times when we work in the WordPress space, and that's why I recommend the repository, a lot of premium plugins or themes add a new admin on top of what's existing. So you have to teach your client how to use WordPress and that CMS, and then how to use another admin. So we wanted a really simple, easy, and logical interface. We wanted the ability to filter the calendar based on these. These are standard calendar things by day, by month, by week, by year. We also wanted different views. And like I showed you in our previous screens, we wanted to list the information in different ways. Like my immediate boss hates seeing thumbnails in a calendar, and it's just his own preference. But we have to be able to meet our clients' needs in that sense as well. We wanted something out of the box, mobile friendly and responsive and accessible. One of the tools, everything that they presented was in light blues and blues that was hard for anyone to sort of look at. But you want the ability to be able to modify it. So we wanted to be able to quickly implement what we're doing. We have an incredibly crazy timeline. We're doing one small section as a pilot, and we need to get it done by April. So the whole process is going to move fast, and then we're going to spin up the rest of the site over the next year. So it's a hot deadline. So we want a tool that's easy to implement and has the ability for us to turn around and teach people and get them up and running pretty fast. And then we want to make sure that recurring events are handled. We have legally mandated meetings as a public agency that we have to let the public know about, and they happen maybe on the second Tuesday of each month or the third Thursday. So having the ability to schedule those within a calendar tool was important for us also. So I'm doing a lot of rambling. Did anyone have a question or a comment as I go along here? All right, I'm gonna keep going. All right, so here's some of, I broke it down again. We looked at the 3 tools, and I'll make these available. These were some of the tools and how they sort of rated out. The open circles mean I'm still, they don't have it, or I'm still verifying it. Again, one important thing also was the ability for someone to just pull up a page on our site, enter a password, and enter information through the browser. So in case they didn't want to use a WordPress admin, we could just do a browser-based interface. So that was cool. One cool thing about the modern events calendar. All right, these are the different price points for my Calendar Pro, which allows you a little bit more in terms of feature. This one is probably the least desirable in terms of features and function. But again, we wanted to start, at least look at one that was accessible. So it has a permanent license for $200, and then the annual license for $49. Events Calendar Pro. One thing that I didn't like about it is that it's an annual licensing fee. And especially for an agency like we are, we would need it for multiple sites or 10 sites. So that could, $500 a year could be a consideration for us as a public agency. So, but again, the events calendar had lots of great features and lots of great add-ons. Modern events calendar had a lifetime license, which was great. But again, one of the things that you need to look at when you're looking at these calendars, the hook or the one way they get you is through add-ons. So add-ons add additional functionality like plugins. And you'll find that a lot of the key things that you need reside in a plugin or an add-on. So that can add to the cost of what you're going to use. And I know a lot of folks use the free version, but for us, I was able to test out a few of these features on a trial basis. Actually, someone from the events calendar reached out to me and I'll share it later. She sent me a link where you could spin up a sandbox site using their tool. So it's a great way for you to test out some of the core features that they have on their tool as well. So I'll share that. All right. Oops. All right. I'm going to jump out and look at some of the resources. But again, this is the events calendar sandbox. We'll take a look at that. So let me jump out now and go over to some sites for you. Right. So can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay. So what I did, I spun up a few sites using the various tools. One of my colleagues, he tested my calendar. I tested out, and then let me show you what he had here. And so again, unfortunately, my calendar, it's accessible, but it's sort of the old style calendar here. And we set up a few events. Oops. You're able to filter based on month, week, or day. And again, it's pretty ugly. And again, this is going to be the most challenging in terms of meeting our brand standards. So that was a calendar that we looked at, and you would add events through your admin here. So again, it works like a normal, creating a normal post in the WordPress space. And again, like I found that a lot of the things that we needed, integration with other tools, the ability to embed different views, it's not part of the pro or the free version. So that was one that we sort of took a look in a different direction on. This one is the modern events calendar. No, I mean, it's the events calendar. And one of the great things about this one was its integration with Eventbrite, our public affairs group that we saw with the Crenshaw LAX Transit Project. They do a lot of events with the public and they manage it through Eventbrite. So the awesome thing about the events calendar in terms of what we're looking to use it for is its ability to connect with Eventbrite or ICS, an ICS file. Meetup, for example, I imported our Meetup from today, and all it was a basic, you just had to log in. So let me see. All right. And you enter your Meetup information, which is the URL to your site. Then it gives you a preview. And again, that interconnectivity with tools that already exist instead of trying to teach an entire company a new tool is very important to us. So again, it pulls them in. It gives you a preview of what it's going to bring in, and then it allows you to bring it in, and then it appears as an event. The other cool thing was we imported a CSV file. The modern events calendar does not allow that easily. So that's could be an issue, but a lot of these events happen the second Thursday. So it's easy to set up initially. So let me show you that Meetup event that I just added. Oh, actually. Oh, one other thing, and I don't know if you can see it, but unfortunately, when you import from a CSV file, the dates went off into infinity. So it entered meetings up to 2038. So that's one thing I would recommend against doing. Try to set an end date on the import. So. All right, so yeah, so here are the two events that were pulled in. And the cool thing is that it pulled the image from Meetup, pulled the description, and again, it sets it up so you can pull in the export or you add it to your Google Calendar. So again, if you're already managing something in Google Calendar or Meetup or Eventbrite, you can easily pull it in. So that was a really neat feature with the events calendar. One thing that was a bummer for me is that it's an annual license, and all of these add-ons will make it, for us, kind of cost prohibitive, but we're trying to get our ITS department to pick up on it since it's an agency tool. Let me see here. Another cool thing about this tool, or in general, and our departments are going to appreciate this, is the ability to create categories and tags so that we can create calendar lists or pages based on what the tool is doing for us already. So, for example, so this is how the events calendar, these are the different views that we have. This is a list. So again, I really like this one. It's nice and clean. It's nice and organized. You can look at it in a number of different features. This is the ugly Google Calendar style. This is by day. And this is sort of a card style, the photo style. So again, the events calendar gives you, I think, 6 views out of the box. So that's nice as well. The other one that we looked at was, again, the events calendar, the modern events calendar. What I like about this one, and I'm going to talk about it a little more today, is it supports Elementor, and that's a tool that I've been playing around with as well, because if I want to customize our presentation. So for instance, what you saw displayed in the events calendar is sort of set in stone. I didn't like how in modern events calendar, it had an area for a ticket, and I couldn't remove it because as a public agency, we don't charge for events. So the Elementor plugin, they have a bundle that comes with the modern events calendar. Let me show you here. Yeah, so they have an Elementor bundle that allows you to customize some of that stuff. So that was neat. So for example, I used their single builder. And again, we'll talk about this a little bit later in a second meetup, but this allowed me to customize a view of our page. So I was able to add a breadcrumb for SEO purposes to customize our layout a little more. And so now that's been assigned to MetroArt. So they'll have a custom look. I'll be able to set up a different layout for each of our departments. If I didn't like what Modern Events Calendar had out of the box. So let me also show you another, oh, and this is the sandbox that I talked about, and I'll share the link now. Let me pop it in the chat. And again, this is a sandbox where you'll be able to jump on, and it allows you to use the events calendar with a set of plugins that are already installed from them. So it'll give you an opportunity to test out the tool with some of the paid features that you would have to pay for. All right, so yeah, so it has the events tickets and events ticket plus, and a couple of other plugins, community events. So you'll get a look and feel for how the tool works. And it'll go away in 3 days, like a typical, there's some tools on the internet that allows you to spin up a WordPress site for 3 days. So that's what this is. So I'll share that as well. One other thing I wanted to share, which was one thing that I liked about this tool, is that the Modern Events Calendar has all of these views free, except for the ones that are in blue. So it has at least 50 different views out of the box that you could sort of see how they look and feel. So again, if we're looking at some branding items or giving our clients a lot more options, this is a great tool. One thing I did find in looking back is that, like anything, too many options are dangerous. So I feel like this could be a little bit too much for our clients to comprehend. So I'll or I shouldn't say comprehend or digest. It may cause them to, like, you know, you don't give your kids candy because they'll be bouncing off the wall. This could be too many options. So, but one of the things that I liked about it was that it did have a lot of different options. And with the Elementor tool, I'll be able to customize some of these views as well. So. So you have lots of options visually. So to me, it seems like in this space, the two largest in terms of downloads is the events calendar and the events calendar and Modern Events Calendar. And for me, I'm sort of leaning towards the Modern Events Calendar because of all these different options that are built in. But I do like how the events calendar is tied in with the tools that we already use, Eventbrite, et cetera, et cetera. So. So next Thursday, I do a presentation to our group and sort of share all these findings. Let me see if I can show you something else here.
Hey, Joe?
Yeah.
On these calendars, can you change the language, or is that a separate extension or plugin?
I think you'll need another plugin to do that. On this one, I did install what you see up here where it says select language. That's a plugin that does that. Oh, I'm looking at the plugin. I'm sorry. Let me pull up a page. But yeah, you just have to make sure, and that's another thing that I'm testing. Sometimes a plugin doesn't affect an embed. So we need to make sure that that's the case. Let me find an event here and I'll open it up. And all right, so yeah, so it looks like it translated it for you. So I did use a translate plugin to do that, but I don't think it's included as part of the plugin for the calendar. All right, Lynn? All right.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
All right. So with that, that's sort of an overview. Some of the great things is that it can manage your tickets. We don't have that as a need. I know some people mentioned that. It allows you to sell tickets. It allows you to work with WooCommerce. Both of the major tools do that. So both of them are full featured. Again, it just depends on what you can get out of the free version as opposed to the paid version. We have the ability to get it on a one-time basis. So I'm looking at it more in terms of an enterprise application, but I know for you it may be difficult, or it may be out of your budget to invest in all these add-ons. But like I said, that's the hook. They get you with all these add-ons because a lot of them are pretty impressive. But to do your core stuff, both tools are great. One other thing I wanted to show you also is the modern events calendar. It's sort of like they're the Burger King and the events calendar is McDonald's. And so they're always comparing themselves to the other one. But they did this matrix that I found fascinating. It broke down a lot of different features. And, I broke down a matrix that I showed you earlier with maybe 10 items that we were looking for. But they went through and listed all these different features of their calendar. And I'll share this link as well. And it's amazing that, again, the pro version has over 50 features that are included for $75, but they also compare it to other calendar tool items like the event calendar and event on, and they give you a breakdown of doing the same thing and whether the other tool can. So this was very helpful for me as well in terms of presenting it to our management. This is going to cost this much, this is going to cost this much. So again, when you're presenting this kind of stuff to your client, this is a consideration that you have to build into your budget or what you're going to charge. So with that, I'm going to open it up to some questions now or comments from everyone on what they said. Again, on what you've seen, because again, it's sort of a case study. It wasn't really a demo. Next, our next meetup on the elementary meetup, I'm going to show you how I built that page, and we'll walk through step by step there. But this was more of like an overview of the tools and ways that you can sort of compare and contrast for yourself. Again, this is a great tool. The link that I just shared is a great tool that breaks down each of the specific events and each of the specific features. Like I mentioned, a front end submission was important for us. Let me show you how that works also. There were a couple of calendars that offer that. And what that means is you'll create a page with a short code provided by the tool. You paste the short code on a page and you get, I have to get I created, and again, it's not styled, but how it's going to work is we'll give all of our clients this password here. And when they come to the page on metro.net, they'll enter a password. So again, this will keep, just an average person from getting on and causing damage on our site. And it creates this page based on a short code. So our department clients can pull up this site page and they can enter it on the browser without going onto the back end of WordPress at all. So all of the sections that they'll need to fill out are here. And once they've done that, it adds it to the calendar automatically. So that was one thing that was important. Again, teaching someone the WordPress CMS, especially there's a Gutenberg backend. If you use Gutenberg, there's a standard CMS. And then if you use something premium, your backend could look a lot different. So again, I wanted to create this page. And a great thing about this tool is that you can customize what you have on this page. So I'll show you that as well. So yeah, so you can pick the fields that show for your specific calendar. And I know there's been mention of booking options in terms of selling tickets and things like that. So it's all part of those fields as well. So the one thing that I didn't like about the modern events calendar is that, again, it gives you so many options, but look at this settings menu. It's really complex. So for someone that has experience, it's not that daunting to me because I sort of hone in on what I need, but this could be a problem if your users are going to use it. So again, I would say if you're using this tool, I would build a front end page that they can interface with. Another consideration that we use ActiveCampaign. So it allows you to tie into ActiveCampaign. So if people sign up for your event, it could manage their contact information through ActiveCampaign, and you could do a drip campaign based on the people that say they're coming to your event. So that's good. It also has these other tools that it integrates with. So again, your tool should integrate with these other third-party tools if it can. I do find that they both focus on different things, whereas it's difficult on the modern events calendar to connect to Meetup or Eventbrite. But on the events calendar, it's a breeze. On the events calendar, it's a breeze to import from a CSV file. So if you're transitioning from Google Calendar into the events calendar, it's a snap. You just have to make sure you map the fields exactly like you have on in the events calendar, but the modern events calendar doesn't. So again, it was like, look, it was like apples and oranges, but they were very similar, but very different. So again, these are some of the things that you'll consider. And I'm hoping that in presenting this case study, it sort of gives you some of the considerations that we have and could possibly influence your decisions or help you make a decision if you're looking at one of these calendars. All right, so with that, that's sort of the overview of what I'm going to talk about today. And I want to open it up to questions or comments, or if folks have comments on what they're using or what they like and why. If we want to take a look at some calendar examples, I'm willing to do that as well.
I have a question. Is Modern Events Calendar the only one that has a map version?
When you say map, what do you mean? Embedding a Google map on the page?
No. Well, showing your event map location.
Oh no, I think they all have the ability to add a location. I know on this one.
Is it the Google map though?
Well, you have to connect the Google API.
Yeah, and start paying.
And some of them require an add-on. So it just depends.
If you have a lot of impressions on that Google map, that's not free anymore. Just to let you guys know, if it's a if it's a heavy traffic site, you probably want to get a different kind of map.
Yeah. So again, that's another thing they get you that way because they know everyone wants a map on their event.
Yeah, Google.
So it's yeah. So
not the plugin.
yeah. So here it has a location area, and it could once you connect to the API, it could you can enter the address and it'll find the map for you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? And as I go through the list, I'm going back through the chat now.
Have you ever heard of the Event On plugin?
Well, you know what? It was one of the three that Modern Events compared, but I haven't used it. Why don't you tell me a little about it, Dave, and why you like it or you don't like it?
No, I purchased it for a re-implementation of Event Calendar Pro because I was sick of all these different add-ons and the annual fee for essentially a site that didn't have traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sadly I shouldn't say that. It was it's from Code Canyon, the theme forest people. So that made me like, and the person who promotes it says, it's the #1 event calendar thing. And it's like, yeah, okay. But I never implemented it. But it was interesting that I heard about it from the Modern Tribe people. It was one of their, apparently they see it as competition.
Oh, wow. So
yeah, so I was kind of intrigued by that aspect, but I never implemented it. And I was curious if you did an evaluation of it or.
Well, you know what? That gets me excited because I wanted to test more, but we're on such a hot deadline. That was one because it was in the matrix that I wanted to test. But I will probably test it as we have time. Again, we're using all of these. You know how in technology they use a lot of metaphors. So we're calling this project the lifeboat. Like where our current site that was done by Evil Doug is a sinking ship. And so we've talked to our clients about only certain folks are going to be able to move over to the lifeboat because one problem, that site has been around a long time. There's over 1,200 pages on the site. So in order to get people to stop doing web the way that they were doing it, we're forcing them to either do it our way and get on the lifeboat, or we're archiving a lot of that information with our records management department. So all that information is going to go away unless you modernize. So we use a lifeboat metaphor. So the lifeboat is setting sail in April. So I had to make a quick decision on this calendar, but we can readdress it when we do the larger scale site. So I hope to take a look at it at that time. Any other questions or comments?
I know I've used the templating in the events calendar.
Uh-huh.
You can, if you have a child theme, you can copy the pieces, parts of the calendar over and customize them, change words and buttons, things like that.
How did you well, describe your level of expertise? Do you consider yourself advanced, intermediate, or beginner? And then the other concern was, in our group,
Yeah.
I'm probably the main WordPress
This
person. The other
is
folks
like
are sort
an
of peripheral.
intermediate to advanced sort of process. So you have to copy over, you have to set up your folder structure and your child theme to work with the events calendar. And then you can copy over pieces and parts of their templates and go in and change the PHP or just change words.
I can actually put on add on to that. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Because I'm looking at this and I've actually done things like this. I'm gonna come from the clouds because I build custom junior enterprise level sites, and
So you're about to bring the heat? Is that what you're saying?
I'm bringing the game. The game's so first of all, I'm gonna be real. It's gonna be real. That's what I always do. That's why they love me.
Do it.
I would never use Elementor at all. I would never do that because first of all, that is something you're going to be depending on to work out. And everybody who's doing WP breakery, I just learned this one. I'm sorry. I had to put all this down.
I totally get that.
To this day, and then that would even be Burning Man website is doing that. So I wouldn't even.
Burning Man does WP
Breakery. And the Martin Tribes event calendar. It seems to be working because they also have a designer who knows CSS. It doesn't matter what comes out of the box. It's can you get to it and make it whatever you want, because you can. So it doesn't matter. Don't worry about, what it looks like. And it's like, it doesn't look like our thing. But Joe Dolson's looked like something you could easily change to anything you wanted with CSS, but it didn't seem to have what you wanted. But you were looking for those things, those components inside the plugin itself. And when I would take pieces, first of all, I would get formidable forms, which is it's another pricey thing. But these things have prices because they work and they're going to stay that way. And they're not going to there's been time and energy put in to make sure it's solid. And so with Formidable Pro, you can actually have a front-facing form that syncs to the fields, even custom fields that you can put into the event custom post type that is actually created with every event calendar that you install. It creates a custom post type that will work as any of the ones that you would have created yourself. So you can do all that kind of stuff. And what Peter was actually saying is that with all of these plugins, especially Modern Tribe, they already have a folder of templates. And so when you have your child theme, you drag out the piece that you need to edit and make stay the same at all times. And so that would be completely customized. You can also do, oh gosh, what is it called? It's actually a small little function in a template where you wrap a custom field around just for a short code. And so you've already even if the short code was something they needed, you've kind of already planted it there. So they don't even have to grab a short code and put it in anywhere or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you can also, third part is there's Zapier, but then that could get a little pricey too, because you'll be zapping all of these. If it's thousands of people doing it, or if it's just staff, it won't matter. But you'll be able to zap Eventbrite information. I mean, there's just a whole tool shed when so I might have gone too far and glazed eyes over, but I just I would have gone for that approach. And then instead of just looking at the event calendar, just everything that you said you needed to do, now that you've done the calendar part, just radiate out into the community and say, okay, now, is there something else that I could do that the calendar could still get free, and then I could add something else, and then we can balance those costs. Something like that. That's what I'm sorry.
Oh, but. And like I said, I totally understand. And again, if this pilot takes hold and the lifeboat becomes a cruise ship, then like, just to give you a little bit of behind the scenes, we have a skeleton crew, and part of this initiative too is to get our management to, we're looking to hire a developer, and so this is a stepping stone.
Oh, I see what you're doing. It's like
it's a pilot
sample table in the market, and you want to make sure they like what you're putting out. And
well, I mean, I guess we're trying to convince them that this is the direction to go and that they should employ staff and talent to make it happen. So I think this is going to be a springboard, like you said, to having somebody come in and do that development.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so it's not like the end all and be all. It's like I needed to show them, for example, like the current CMS, I'm working with the person in the art department, and she's like, well, can we get a photo slider and this? And I was like,
No.
What?
Sorry.
Oh, no. But I'm just saying, they don't realize that that's just part of a website nowadays, because our site is so old and outdated. So part of it is educating the client, and that's what we're doing with this, and it's moving fast. So again, I was just trying to make an easy.
Oh yeah, and I also remember
to
you said it was a
point
hot
across.
deadline.
Yeah,
You said
yeah.
it was- okay,
Cool.
gotcha.
All right. Anyone else want to add to either their experience in using the calendar tool that they use? Like someone mentioned, I think Peter, you mentioned that you use the all-in-one calendar. Can you talk a little bit about that one? Nope. It looks like he's
I
frozen.
used that one on a site a few years ago, and they were using it. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right site. I'm thinking of the right site here. Okay, the all-in-one calendar is on the City of Cuyahoga Heights site, which I inherited through two other people.
I have
So
one of my
just
best friends lives in
making
Ohio.
sure it still works.
Do you
But I
have the link?
Yep.
Customize that.
I was gonna say, can you share the link in the chat, and then we could take a look at it at the same time? Okay, and while we're waiting on that, let me see if I can. I don't know if it'll be helpful to sort of walk you through adding an event or something like that at this point. Would that be helpful, or?
What were you walking us through?
I can add a couple of events, or
Oh, that
yeah,
would be cool.
I think yeah, I was gonna say I think most people have seen it, but okay, here, I'm gonna open up the site, and then Peter, if you could sort of walk us through.
Oh, this is a plugin. I've never set up the events, never integrated anything. I just maintain this site. So, but I had to, a few years ago, there was some issue with the calendar.
What is?
So can everyone see it?
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's the calendar in the center, yeah.
Yeah, so I work with the designer who designed the site, and he maintains the calendar. So I really don't do anything with the calendar for this guy. But I had to troubleshoot it like 2 years ago. I will not remember during the Zoom call here what the heck I had to do with it. But they put on their community events here.
So how do they interface to add these events? Do they do it through the WordPress admin or in a different way?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the designer of the site has a maintenance contract on this, and he does all the site updates, adds all the photo galleries, updates the events.
Mm.
And I go in and I do the WordPress updates and theme updates. I tweak, add plugins when he needs it. They swapped out their, they used to have a list of a Google map of commercial properties that were available, and they switched that to a GIS system through a community. There's a company here in Cleveland called Silver Load, and they help communities manage their available properties and help promote, help to recruit businesses to relocate
Okay.
to different cities. It's like a whole world that we know nothing about.
So it's interesting that there's so many different uses for calendars
Yeah.
that I've heard today. So there was another question I saw in the chat, or another comment. Someone mentioned, I thought it looks like you've used everything, Peter. What is RSVP Maker?
That's something for this website. I'm working on at the Cleveland Museum of Art, there are what's called affiliate groups. They're like clubs that support the art museum. And there's one called the Women's Council, and they have 600 members, and they volunteer at the art museum. So they have a system. Their old website was built on a Windows platform, and it let the members of the club go in and enter the number of hours they volunteered. So they're looking for a calendar that would let them do the same thing, to let them sign up for a volunteer event and then go in after they volunteer and put in their number of hours. So that's kind of why I'm here today, because I'm looking at calendars for them. I've set them up with the event calendar, and I've made them a custom form to record the number of volunteer hours, but they want those linked together.
Okay.
And I don't think there's anything out there that will do that, but
I know it's amazing. It's a lot of, like I said, it's a lot of unique applications. So I'm really eager to see what folks do. So as we're going to wrap up here, but I can walk through adding an event to the events calendar if folks will feel that's helpful. There's a couple of different areas. Let me share my screen. And everybody can see the admin, yeah?
Yes.
All right. So this is the events calendar. There's a couple of ways you can add an event. You could do it here. I think, let's see. You can even do it here. You could do it through the menu. Let me pull up a page on metro.net and grab some live information for you. So for those that aren't familiar with Los Angeles or how things are, we're connected. Our headquarters building is connected to Union Station, which is sort of like the Grand Central Station of Los Angeles, if Los Angeles had a Grand Central Station. And through the tunnels, there's installation of artwork. So, for example, we have temporary exhibits that appear in the light cases and things like that. Let me see if I can find one to put up. Yeah, so.
So you could do like an art tour in the metro.
Oh, we have that too.
Oh,
So one of, we have a docent program. So part of this lifeboat, I'm gonna provide a calendar tool. We're gonna connect in email marketing. We're gonna do all that so they can manage their program through it. So again, like I said, for 10 years, they've had a crappy system. But for example, the opening for this event could be an event. So let's just grab some information here and create an event really quick.
Wow, those are all the people that you've
Yeah,
had?
yeah, we have over 120 stations, so there's at least 120 art installations, but some, like for instance, a subway platform has the mezzanine, the street level, the mezzanine level, and the platform level. So there's art on each level.
Oh, this
So
is-
it's a quite extensive program.
yeah.
Let me just, yeah.
That is such a cool idea.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and part of the cool thing was that, you know, California is always on the leading edge, or, you know, we were criticized during the last election cycle for being too far out there. But part of what they required, and I think the city of LA, for a lot of the buildings that they build, they require a portion be set aside for the surrounding area and the landscaping and the artwork. So art is always a part of these things. So they said 1% of every construction budget is going to go towards art installation. Let me go here.
You said that's LA County that is behind all that?
Well, each, you know, it's City of LA has an art program. We're part of the county. So each different group has their own program, but I know we have the 1%. So yeah, so let me grab one. I know I've been talking, I'm sorry. Right.
So I does, I
Go
don't
ahead,
even want
go ahead.
to, but is any of the art's pretty safe in the metro? Is it, how do you?
Well, the cool thing is that we have a group of people that maintain it. So we have a restoration and maintenance team. So that, you know, it's
Okay, in
sort
case
of like,
somebody like uses their.
yeah, it's
their
like the folks that
art
keep,
Sharpie.
yep, it's sort of like the folks that keep the paintings at the LACMA looking
Okay.
good, or, you know.
Got it.
They're not protected by guards though, but so yeah, so I'm just going back and forth here. I'm adding a new event. Like I said, the events calendar works within the WordPress CMS. So you would just add the information. I've set up categories. And again, the great thing about WordPress is the tags, the categories, the taxonomies that we could build to organize and display this information. One other thing is it requires, and also one of the items that we looked at, and one of the selling points for Modern Events Calendar was it has SEO schema. So each event is considered its own event. Like I think with the events calendar and other events that do the repeating thing, SEO tools see them as one event. So it doesn't rank as high. So I guess Modern Events has its own individual schema for each individual. So I was like, wow, that's a plus.
Well,
So
you
again,
know-
it's kind of hard to decide between the two. Go ahead.
Yeah, you'll know if it's doing like not a repeat once you put the plugin in, you see add new event. That's the post type. So you can add schema to those things.
So yeah, so you add your featured image, you go through your time and date. Like this one was from December 1st through, it's an all-day event because it's an installation, through July
Wow.
31st. So again, as you walk through the station, you'll see the light box. You can also schedule multiple events. One of the good things, and for instance, you can put the venue. Also, you can show a map, and we talked about that before. I think they have I don't think it's a Google map. They just have their own proprietary map until you connect it to Google. We don't have organizers, but if you had one, you could add that. If there was an event website, we could just grab that information.
Or even highlight the artist if they had a website.
Yep, yep. And then if you have, if there's a cost, you could add that in. And again, this is just the standard item. Let me see here. You can do a recurrence. So again, if it happens every Monday or something like that, you could do that. And then you would just publish it. And let's just take a look. All right, so, and then again, it just creates a general page. with a map. And then it also scrolls through the other items, which is a nice feature. And let me see if I don't know if I created one for, and as you tag items, you can, oops, let's see if this will work. Oh, no, I didn't create a tag for that. So as you create tags, you can surface those pages, and it's built dynamically for you too. So that's, again, that's another great feature of WordPress that we didn't have before. All right, so I think that's all I have for you in terms of what I've been looking at. And again, I was just hoping to share some of the things that we looked at as a team to make a decision, and the reasons we had to do it, the timeline and things like that. And I'm sure everyone has their own reasons for choosing their calendar or tool. But I appreciate you being here. I'll open it up for one last comment before we sign off. Sue, what did you think? What's your take on calendars and how they apply for you?
Well, I'm definitely going to look at calendars because now I know that they can be beautiful. They don't have to just be functional. So I'm going in another direction.
I know you're speaking Alicia's language. Like, WordPress doesn't have to be ugly, if I quote her right.
Yeah, well, and I like the idea of doing stuff with CSS too. So.
Oh, good. So I guess that will be a question to throw out to the audience too. How much control do you want over the CSS, or do you want an out-of-the-box solution? When you
I want 100% control.
Oh, I agree too. And like I said, we have a bunch of picky folks at our company, so they know they want everything to be pixel perfect. So, all right. So if there aren't any other comments, and by the way, thanks Roy for joining us. I know you jumped in late, but we're just wrapping up here. If you want to learn more about Elementor, except for Alicia, we have a meetup I think it's in a couple hours. It's on the Meetup page. Wow. And we're going to look at the couple of the Elementor plugins for Modern Events Calendar and how we can customize these pages. So again, this is sort of my work in progress. So it gives me an opportunity to sort of demonstrate what we're going to have to do. I hope it was helpful. And like I said, I would love to hear from you and let me know how I can make this presentation better.
It was totally helpful. You have the best presentations, Joe. You just break it down.
Oh, thank you.
Like
I said, I would love.
I really get inspired by you because I don't do that much like grainy detail beforehand, and just I always learn something from like the stuff that's out there from you.
Oh, and same here. I mean, I love seeing
it's obvious that you do that you work with the huge bureaucracy too, because like I remember from my days as a professor where you had to come through with all that crap about like, and they're going to want about the money, and this one's only $20, but this one's free, and $20 per month is so much money for I mean, seriously, like you would think that some of the costs that you're talking about, that Metro could like handle it so easily. But I mean, the university, like seriously, Cal State, that's, I retired from Cal State, before that University of Mississippi. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Like,
University, UCSB wanted me to do a whole department thing, like, and I asked the price, and the guy was embarrassed to tell me after I talked about what it would be.
Oh yeah, like
$500.
That's what I'm talking about. You're working on graduate student stipend money, like seriously, it's like zero money, and you're talking about like a place where the I mean, Cal State and UCs are cheap, obviously, for in-state tuition, but I mean, still, the revenue is huge, right? I mean, the huge revenue. The white collar people make so much money, and the Metro people that are running the show. I mean, yeah, I understand it's public and all that stuff. They're making money though. Like no one's working for free, and you're talking about a $200 thing. I mean, it's just so obvious. And so the cool thing about that is because of that insight that you offer on all your presentations, because you always go that, like she said, you just break it down. It's so good. Like I'm taking some notes here, and it's just not so much what you're saying, like, okay, I want to go with this one event calendar or whatever, but just kind of the style that you use, because it so much helps when I build personally, when I'm building things for clients. I have a client meeting. I won't make the Elementor thing this afternoon because I have a client meeting, but it's just some things that I can use when I talk to my clients, and so I give them that much more information so they understand, like the comparisons and the contrasting. And typically I don't do that. So it's always some good insight from you, Joe. I mean, you really do.
I want to ask you a question, Joe. Is the only place you put these videos on, the Meetup, or are you writing blog posts?
Well, I'm trying. I mean, I think in
Okay.
2021, that's one of the things that I want to do. I want to start sharing more information and doing more how-tos. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how Joe Lima started, just comparing things like that, and now look at him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. And to me, what I find valuable about these meetups, and I hope you do the same, is like you mentioned, Steve, I'm from a corporate environment. I've worked in a corporate setting for 30 years. And people on the other end of these meetups are solopreneurs, and they have a whole different work process. So I was hoping to share my process, and then I sort of learn about how you do it. And I'm going to have to meet somewhere in the middle as I get more active in WordPress.
So, man, I really don't. I think that your approach is sweet, because like she's telling you, brother, I'm telling you, you break it down like a mofo, dude. Like if anybody misses it, seriously, like if people don't understand what you're talking about, like bro, they're not even paying it. Like you do it so that you can like multitask and still hear what you're saying. Like seriously, bro, because you don't mess around. Like there's no like hidden bullshit thing, like, oh well, they're gonna ask you this tough question. No, you cover that tough question, because seriously, I mean, you laid out that thing and you're talking about you said this one's free, right? And this one costs $200. And you even, I mean, bro, like $200.
You could publish that as a blog post, and those people
it would go viral. Seriously,
will contact you.
Yes,
because you're bringing up things that they're looking for as a competitor.
Yes, and your shit would go viral, Joe. You'd be one of the people that people would like go to. I mean, you're already one of the people that people want to hear, because obviously, and like you get people from all over listening to you, coming to these meetings. So I mean, it's not like you're screwing around, dude. And you talking.
I was gonna say, let me grab my wallet and send you to. I'll Venmo you both for the nice testimonial.
No. This is nothing about that stuff.
I'm
not blowing sunshine, man. If I didn't think you were badass, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't even part of this meeting.
Well, I appreciate that. But again, I'm really interested in pop. I found out about was it Steve's? No. The other two, David's other tool, the My Event. I think I'm going to check into that one, or Event On. But yeah, I mean, these things are great interchanges of information and sharing. So I really enjoyed doing it. So hopefully you got something from it today.
Definitely.
All right.
I wanted to know what you said. I really appreciate all of you, and Joe, you especially, for learning about all the different tools that you use. That's very helpful to a newbie.
Oh, awesome. And then I know I want to do more hands-on, but to me, I think I may have to organize it a little differently so we can do the introductions later. It takes more time to do these kind of hands-on things. So,
or just time us for like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
I know, especially today we had a larger group, and so it took 35 minutes to do the introduction, so it cut in to what I could do. But I mean, like I said, I just want to make it better. So hopefully, is this something we want to follow back up on in terms of another session to talk about calendars?
Yeah.
Or?
I would like to go on.
A lot more about this that we should
I want to see it. I want you to go on until you get it live.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
I want to see the conclusion and like everything that happened in between.
Okay.
For real. Okay.
I feel like
yes.
I feel like I'm on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Okay, and like I said, there's all the inner office drama going on behind the scenes. So it's sort of like I'm carrying the WordPress flag. So I got a group of people behind me. So I'm gonna do it. So we'll win over the world together. All right.
We can do sliders next.
Yeah.
As always, trying to find the right slider for the look and the project and the client.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go have some lunch. I'm gonna grab a quick bite. I think. Let me just pull up the meetup.
Yeah, I think I want to talk.
I think it's 1 or 2.
It's at the top of the hour.
Oh, okay. So I got.
Yeah, you're on it.
For me, that's 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 East, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern.
Okay. All right. So thanks to everyone for coming. You can reach out. I'll share this video on our page. I'll share the links on the page as well as on those social media channels. I'd love to hear from you about what you want to do next. Again, I try to do hands-on stuff for beginners. It may not, we'll have in other speakers that speak on advanced topics, but I always try to make sure I do hands-on thing. I know Bakersfield is doing like a how to build a site from scratch thing for beginners. I usually do one leading up to our WordCamp, so I'm thinking of starting that up again. And I know, Lynn, you're building your site, so maybe that's the next direction we head.
Are you having a WordCamp?
I think so. I think so. I mean, I think they're making it difficult. They want you to do the learn.wordpress and do actions. Or like today, WordPress India is happening, and they combined all the Indian WordCamps into one. So they're doing them in 3 weekends over the next 3 weekends. So they're having them consolidate. So I think they're going to want us to do a WordCamp Southern California or something like that.
Oh man, are you serious?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of effort. Like we're going back and forth right now, but I'm thinking of doing it.
Okay.
But if it's regional, you don't want to do the WordCamp Santa Barbara with us as part of the.
I would. Yeah, I would do it. That might segue into like my own. But something that starts this way. You know, it's like people who started working from home. Some of them aren't getting back to the office, and we may never get back to the single city.
Oh, I agree. All right. So I'm gonna run. I'm gonna grab a quick bite here. Everyone have a great Saturday and enjoy their weekend. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Joe. Good seeing everybody.
Good seeing
Thanks,
everybody.
Joe.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, see you, Elizabeth.
Bye, guys. See you.